Want to welcome everyone here to today's podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Sierra, and if you haven't followed our new one-on-one series and the first interview that I had with Dee Greene, I encourage you to check that out at johnnysierra.net. But we're continuing our one-on-one series with a very special guest I have today. He is the worship leader for Free Life Chapel, where you can find him leading thousands of people weekly in their corporate services. He's a recording artist with a brand new EP that just released last month titled Rewind, which we'll talk about more in detail here in the podcast later. And if I didn't mention all of that, he was a top 12 finalist in season 11 for American Idol. So I just want to introduce you guys today to Mr. Jeremy Rosado. Man, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How's things been? How's life been lately for you?
Life has been kind of crazy lately, man. It's been definitely been blessed, man, and just kind of running around like a chicken without a head at certain points, but it's all good, man. Blessed, man.
Yeah. You had a good 4th of July?
I did. I spent it at the beach with the fam and
Nice.
got sunburnt like crazy. So,
I was just going to say that. That's awesome,
Yeah,
man. 2017 has been a pretty good year for you, man.
It has been a pretty great year for me, man, and you know, it's crazy. I was talking to a couple of my, brothers and best friends in ministry and stuff, and just talking about how the beginning of this year for me personally was probably one of the hardest years in my life. People don't really know too much about it, and it's personal stuff and family stuff, but to see what God has done on the contrary to that at the same exact time, and the victory, all the victories and the release of this record and the response, it's crazy to me, man, how you can walk through some of the craziest times of your life, but yet still have so much to rejoice in. So, yeah, but it's been a tremendous year, bro.
That's great, man. It's always great to see kind of the the results and the resilience behind these people don't realize, man, like these struggles they make us, they create something great within us, man. Without these struggles, we sometimes don't realize how great our God is, and just how awesome He can be. If you never were sick, how are you going to know Him as a healer,
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's an honor to have you on today. I just tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where were you born, or where we currently reside at?
Yeah, man. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, actually. And my family's from New York City, my mother, my father. I was raised in Queens, New York, Richmond Hill, New York. We moved here, I was probably about 13 years old or so. And, we've been here, now 12 years or something.
Wow.
So, yeah, man, it's crazy. I currently reside here in Brandon, Florida. I lead worship at Free Life in Lakeland, which is about 25 minutes, 30 minutes outside of Brandon. But I still live in Brandon, which is cool.
Nice. I haven't been too much out there, but I hear some really nice things about it. So,
man, you got to check it out.
But anyway,
you got to shop.
I do, man. I am due for a visit over there, man. Caleb's been asking me to head out, so I want to head out over there. But in our series, this series titled One-on-One, I wanted to basically do interviews with different individuals that are making a great impact in their fields, but also in the calling that God has placed upon their life. I didn't want to just do an interview, but I just wanted to more of get the behind the story of things, just kind of knowing the journey and the process behind everything, which is intriguing to me, and how everyone's journey is so different. It'd be nice, man, to have a formula for everyone to use to obtain their success and their achievements. Yeah. But life ain't built like that, so no. Each and every one of us kind of have a different walk and a different path that God's assigned us and paved for us. So in this series, I want to shine a light on the path of each individual, you being very driven in the music industry and in ministry in general, and just kind of take your take on that. But like we were talking before the interview here a little bit. I met Pastor Cindy Thomas a couple years back at one of the Rethink Pain conferences, and being the only one of the only Latinos there, it was kind of like an obvious magnetic connection that we had. I led worship there. And yeah, you got to connect with that one Latino, you know.
Wherever you at,
but
Latino
yeah. So we connected right away. You know, her son Caleb Thomas was into health and fitness as I was, and we kind of meshed. I helped coach him for a year, and got to meet his parents a little more, and I've been informed with what's been happening at Free Life, and when they brought you in a few years back as well, I spoke to Caleb about that. So it was cool to find the connection within us, in this big world.
Yeah.
But so real quick, man, going into just kind of getting a little bit of the background, but prior to American Idol, what were you doing as far as like career, ministry? How were things looking for you before that time?
Yeah, man, there really wasn't much crazy going on in my life at that point, bro. I mean, I did Idol at 18, turned 19 on the show. So I had just graduated high school, and I was working full time at a doctor's office, and I was in college. It was my second semester or something, and so I was a full time student, full time working, and then and I was also full time basically, but not being in the office during the week. Worship leading. I was a worship leader. I started worship leading at 15 years old.
Nice.
At a small church in Valrico, Florida, and I've been there for about 9 years almost, which is crazy to think about. Right before Freedom Chapel, so that's where I was, man. So even in between all of that and after Idol, I went right back to leading worship at my church, because it was just I knew what my heart was and what I loved to do. So yeah, that's what life was like back then, man. I was a typical 19-year-old kid. Didn't really have any connections in the music industry, bro. It was outside of leading worship in the church. I had, there was no formula for me how to make this thing happen. I just had a big old dream that I knew I had since I was a little kid, trying to figure out, what to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Obviously using the big platform that American Idol provides, man. I mean, how was that experience for you, man? What was your biggest takeaway from that?
Man, bro, it's crazy to think back to Idol right now. I think back and I'm like, wow, we worked really hard on that show. and I worked really hard to make it onto that show. And I told my parents when I was 10 years old, I'm going to be on that show on TV, and you're going to vote for me when I get there. And it's going to be a couple years until I can audition, but you're going to do it. And I remember my mother, Clea, she looked at me, she was like, all right, Bobby, yeah, okay. And my father was like, we got this, my son. We're going to do whatever we got to do. He's like super passionate. We're going to do whatever we got to do. I'm going to be there. We're gonna take it to the top. It's gonna happen, and it's crazy to think about, man. But it actually happened. This 10-year-old kid that told his parents he's gonna do this. My mother tells me all the time, I believe anything you tell me now. I believe you're gonna do whatever you want to do now. I know you're gonna do it. But honestly, bro, it was the favor of God, a lot of hard work, persistence. I auditioned for American Idol 5 times. Not a lot of people know that. I never made it 4 times, over a course of 4 years. I never made it past the first round, which with Idol, it's a whole bunch of rounds before you make it to the producers, to executives who actually make the decisions. And something about that last year was so different, and I went up and I did that audition, and it changed my life. The platform is just unbelievable. You don't realize how many people, 22 million people is that watch the show, but we're watching my season, and how that takes you from being a 19-year-old kid leading worship at a church, in school, to becoming famous, quote unquote, and trying to balance out life, and how do you go from being just a worship leader kid to this new life where you're on talk shows and TV shows all the time, you know what I'm saying, and this is what your life has become, and there's a following and there's a fan base, and it gets to your head. And honestly, man, I wish I could tell you that I was like, man, I'm just going to get off the show and I'm going to do ministry. I'm just going to do full-time ministry. It's going to be my heart. It wasn't, bro. And I got caught up in being 19 years old and deciding that I wanted to do secular music for whatever reason. I don't even know. It never worked out for me. It worked out financially, shows and stuff, because obviously American Idol opens those doors. But I could never get a record deal. It just every time I tried to do this thing in the mainstream world, it just didn't work out. And finally,
it's like almost God didn't let you. It's almost like God didn't let you go anywhere.
He didn't let it happen, bro. And then it takes me to my next point. I was on TV with Pastor Donnie McClurkin, and God humbled me on national TV, bro. TV was crazy. He gave me a word, told me why was I running away from the calling that God had placed on my life. What was I doing? Why was I going away from that? This man didn't know me from anywhere. You know, I knew who he was. He knew who I was.
Wow. Well, you went from one TV platform to the other one, and so God had to get your attention that way, huh?
Yeah, bro, crazy. And I came home that night. I called management and I said, listen, I'm doing full-time ministry and I'm doing Christian music, and you're either gonna rock with me and we're gonna make this happen, or I'm gonna go ahead and move on without you. My manager wasn't like sure at the moment, and he quickly made a decision to rock with me and let's make it happen. And since then, man, just doors have flown open. God changed my life completely the past 4 years. It's just been unbelievable. That's
amazing, dude.
Yeah, man.
That leads to my, that just flows right in, man. I mean, since taking that step of knowing where you belong and, in God, like, how has music, your career been thus far since taking that step and saying, I'm doing this for Christ?
It's crazy, bro. I was so scared at the beginning that this wouldn't be something I could do forever in the Christian world, and it's amazing to me. I went from leading worship at a small church to, becoming the worship leader for, one of the biggest churches in Central Florida, which is just bananas, and Pastor Scott, Pastor Cindy, and Thomas are just heaven sent for me, honestly. Came into my life in a moment where I needed them to be in my life. God knew exactly what he was doing, and they're so gracious to have agreed, when I took this position and when they offered it to me, to be able to understand what my full ministry was and traveling and touring and the commitments I had, and they've honored everything, that we've put together to be able to juggle both being on the road and being home for worship. So it's just unbelievable, man. I look back and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So you released your first single, which was "Don't Be Afraid." Then you followed that up with the first album, "Heartbeat," and then now your EP, "Rewind." How's the response been with the new EP? How's that been?
Bro, the response has been bananas. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy to me, honestly, man. I felt like, I don't know, I feel stupid for saying it, but I felt like maybe Idol been fading away, and maybe the support wasn't as there. Sometimes the enemy tries to mess with us, try to make you feel like, it can make you feel real inadequate real quick, with all the artists in the industry and how big it is, how small it is at the same time. No, man, just the idea that, that it, charted where it charted on iTunes and broke the top 10. And it's been the biggest debut of my career so far, man. So it's crazy. I know it has so much to do with, everything to do with God, timing, and the support from my church, literally. I know that has helped excel this and push it forward.
And I would say, dude, even obedience, man.
And
obedience,
Yeah. Being in the right and following where the Lord is leading, And another thing, bro, is the music is great this time. And I never talk about my own stuff like the music this time compared to everything else I put out. I did this one independently, which is, it's good and it's bad at the same time. But back when I had label deals, I didn't get to have full say in what I wanted, type of music I wanted. But in this time, I picked every song that made it onto that record. So I love that process for sure. And I think that was the difference in the sound and the quality of the music for sure.
So with that, are are you releasing a full-blown album off of this, or are you putting up any more tracks?
I am, bro. So we'll be releasing a new single. Well, the single right now is Trust from the EP. And then there'll be a follow-up single coming up soon. Trust has just gone on to radio, so we'll see how that does. And then after that, we'll release a new single. And then it's looking like the full album is going to be out mid-November, like right before Thanksgiving, which is pretty exciting. Because I'll be on the road at the same time. There's a couple tours coming up outside of the Rewind tour that just haven't been announced yet. So,
okay.
Yeah, man. So it's kind of like perfect timing for sure.
That's phenomenal, man. I was gonna ask about the upcoming tour too, and how's that going? So you said November is kind of where you're fully gonna be invested in the tour.
Well, actually, November will be a different tour that just hasn't been announced yet, that we just signed on for. Okay. So the Rewind tour takes off this coming month. I think the end of July, our first few dates for the Rewind tour. And then we'll just be doing a Rewind tour all the way through to about November. Dates they just kind of been adding just here recently. So I think we've got like 10 dates booked so far, aiming for probably another 20 dates or so. And then I'll hop on that other tour that'll take us through like Christmas.
Nice.
But for sure, man. So it's kind of just all happening at the same time. And again, it's the great business.
Yeah.
You know, be on the road, you know, and not be in the office, you know, because I hold office hours and I'm a full-on worship pastor at my church. You know, we built up an incredible team, myself and everybody else has helped me do that. That's a part of the team. Just the fact, it's going to be, I'll be traveling probably like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come home Saturday night, be here Sunday, but it is what it is. I'll sleep when you know.
Yeah, I got you, man. No, I wanted to ask you pick your brain a little bit on the creative process when it comes to the songwriting. I mean, what is your process with that? You know, do you dedicate time each day to write? Do you write as it goes, as it comes? What's your process with all that?
Yeah, bro. I mean, it all depends. For you know. A lot of times we'll wait for, you know, my management, myself, you know, like, you know, when a record needs to come out and we start. Rewind, for example, that was the quickest turnaround of music I've ever had in my career. We did that in about a month and 3 weeks. We decided that Rewind was going to come out. We started promoting it. I didn't even have a full EP record done, fully written when we announced it, which is crazy. And wow. Just to think that the songs have been as successful they have been, it's just bananas to me. But for sure, I mean, I'm always writing, I'm always hearing melodies in my head, so I focus a lot. So constantly, if you go through my phone and my voice memos, you're gonna find like ideas for songs and my notes, song titles, and like random lyrics and sentences, like stuff that would never make sense together. But you take one thing, it can become something amazing, and that's how I do it, man. So I'm constantly writing, just kind of always having stuff in the pocket, like ready just in case. You know, when we've decided we're going into start a record, for sure we go all in. And I typically fly to Nashville and I co-write with a lot of major writers out there: Aaron Rice, Michael Farron. I can't even remember right now. Just a whole bunch of James Teeley, a whole bunch of writers that write for all, you know, Toby and Mendice and Israel and Michael W. Smith and all these artists, and that's all been built by relationship, you know, from just kind of doing this for a while. And so we'll just jump into it, man. I'll take a week or two and I'll just go out there and write for days straight, and we'll come up with a whole bunch of material, and then either we have the songs planned or songs pop up. Rewind wasn't called Rewind at the beginning of all of this, and it wasn't even a song. It wasn't even going to be on the record, and I was driving home one day and I literally heard the title Rewind pop in my head, and I said, man, so many times I've asked God if I could only rewind time and go to be a better version of Jeremy, then maybe my life would be different. And in that moment, I literally felt the Spirit of God like push me to like, if I really understand what grace is and how this thing works, then I know that every day is brand new for me, you know, and I don't have to live backwards. I live forward, and every day is that new start that I ask God for. So
that's awesome, man. Wow, that's phenomenal, dude. We all kind of in our journeys, man, we face obstacles, and pushbacks and things that kind of, get in the way of our process and our journey, man. What's been your biggest obstacle in your music career and in ministry? I mean, what's been the biggest thing for you that's kind of been that Goliath,
I think it's funny, bro. I could say anything from Christian radio to label deals and different things, and moments where I've had to fight to own my music again, and just crazy moments. But honestly, I think the biggest giant in my life and that's been in my career, my ministry, and I don't even think it's just for me. I think this is really for most human beings, most believers, is me. It's myself, and feeling maybe not good enough, inadequate, and not feeling like I have the right doors that I need, or the talent. So you question everything. You know what I mean? When you're a musician, I feel like when you're a musician, you're a minister, you're so vulnerable to people. You put yourself completely out there, hoping that somebody's gonna like what you're saying and what you're singing about, and that's a battle constantly. Not just for me. I'm thinking for a lot of people that minister, to know that at the end of the day, what I do is not for me, and it's not about me. So being able to conquer myself, get over me, and allow God to use me, that's the biggest hurdle that I've ever been through, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's definitely on the money, man. Just this society's so cluttered, and everyone's coming out with stuff, and you're trying to figure it out and say, God, how are you going to stand out? How am I going to stand out? What's different about this? And the fact that we're in Christ, man, and there's a shining light behind the message that we're bringing, the solid foundation of Christ, man, I think that carries the weight for us, man, in having to try to build our brand, or having to try to build our ways. The foundation of Christ is the brand. That is what's carrying us, what Christ did for us, and we don't have to put stress upon ourselves or put a ton of emphasis in what I have to do, me, because I'm sure in this industry, it can become a very selfish industry if you let it overtake you.
Yeah.
So,
sure. It's really
that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Like, what do you see in your future, man, with the music? Where do you want it to go? What's your vision on it?
Yeah, bro, I want it to keep growing, you know what I'm saying? And not even for me, just the ministry and what God has called me to do. And I know that I'm kind of right in the pocket of where he wants me to be. So I want him to use this to whatever capacity that is. I don't want to stop or limit. Not that I could limit God, because I couldn't, but I don't want to stop or be part of anything that could limit the success of what this ministry can be, you know what I mean, and how God uses this music to impact these lives of the people that listen to it and love it and are ministered to by it,
Yeah.
And yeah, man. For sure. I want to see it grow, and obviously I want Christian radio to give your boy a shot, because I feel like that would be a great outlet, for to reach the masses of people, that are looking for some hope in Jesus, and that's all the gold, bro. It's all part of it. But I know that God is going to do it. There's something different about this song, so I'm believing God to do something incredible for sure.
Yeah. So in regards to like, you being a worship leader, recording artist, and then the upcoming tour coming up. I mean, how do you juggle everything? How do you keep yourself dialed in? How do you juggle it all?
I have no idea.
Are you still? Is that I'm still learning. Still figuring it out.
Still learning, bro. No, it's funny. Everything that we go through and all the years of God preparing me, I really feel like all these years God has prepared me for this moment, you know what I mean, to have such a big opportunity to be the worship leader of Free Life Chapel, but to also still have such a humongous opportunity to travel and minister, and doors opening more now, you know what I mean, because of Free Life and because of where I'm at. It's amazing to me that even back when I was just at a small church and doing my thing, I was still traveling and juggling both at that point. It was like preparing me for today, you know what I'm saying? And knowing how to have concerts and have ministry dates Thursday, Friday, Saturday, hop on a plane and be home Saturday at 2 a.m. and be at run through at 7 a.m. on Sunday, you know? So it's a juggling act, bro, but there's nothing else that I'm meant to do in this life. I was born to do this thing, and I make a joke all the time with my friends. I say I'm not too good at a lot of things. I'm not that good at most things, but figuring out how to do this has been the greatest joy of my life, man. Being able to do this has been the greatest joy of my life, and the fact that God allows me to do it, and the fact that He allows me to even have a reason to figure out a juggling act, I'm grateful, man. So I just keep rocking with it. Yeah.
So, doing what you do as a worship leader and an artist, what advice would you give a young worship leader that's getting ready to begin to lead a church and a team? What one advice would you give that individual?
Yeah, for sure, man. I would say follow your dreams, and I would say follow the calling. Know the calling that God's placed in your life. Trust the calling. Trust that the calling is not revoked over your life because of your choices, and I think a lot of times being young and being in ministry and doing this full time, we are young and we're stupid because we just are. But knowing that God, that there's grace for this life that you've been called to, I think we talk ourselves out of opportunities and moments because we feel that we are not good enough to be ministers and be worship leaders. I would encourage that young worship leader to continue to chase after God, continue to chase the calling, continue to chase it, keep going in the ministry and live the dreams out, you know what I'm saying? Write them down, like in the word, like write them down to where you know what the goal is and seek God on that and see where He leads, and if it's more than just leading at church and it's still ministry dates, well, seek God on that and don't give up prematurely, That's probably the best advice I'd give a young worship leader.
And same question for like an aspiring artist, kind of looking out, looking to get their work out there. What do you tell them, or if not the same thing?
I would say something close to the same thing, but I think I would add on, you got to hustle and you got to work really hard to make this music industry thing happen, because at the end of the day, even if you do, it's kind of, my life is kind of split in two, even though it's one ministry, but the music side is more of a business side, and you need to get versed on being a businessman and having the right team around you, you know what I'm saying? Because if you have a small mindset, you're not going to make it in the music industry. You have to understand where you split the ministry and where the business side of it comes in place, because at the end of the day, these concerts and events and stuff, that's all business outside of it being ministry, and you have to be able to protect yourself and have the right team around you and trust God's leading most of all, but research, get to know the music industry as best you can, follow your favorite artists and find out the people that work with them and work for them and get to pick people's brains and figure out if you still feel like you want to do this after you start finding out things and experiencing and living this thing out, because it's not as easy as people think. You got to work really hard for this one.
No, definitely, man. It's a very, congested industry in the sense where, there's just stuff coming out all the time, so with all that said, man, I mean, you gotta have people that you emulate, people that inspire you. Who's your biggest mentors and influencers right now in your life?
In my life right now, like personally?
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, my pastor is definitely my biggest mentor, right now in my life, besides my parents and my pastors, that both have stepped in and become not just my pastors, but like family to me, and being able to turn off the switch of being my boss, but being my pastor and speaking life into me and being hard on me, in moments where I need it because it's growing me. All these things is the past year and a half, man. I hate talking about myself. I hate it. I hate even like interviews and stuff like it. I hate because I don't want to ever sound like I'm blabbing about Jeremy, but the growth that I've seen in myself in the past year and a half, being under Pastor Scott and Cindy Thomas, has been greater than any growth I've ever experienced in my life. Greater than my experience with Idol. It's grown me into a minister, and I continue to grow every day, and I'm super grateful for it.
That's phenomenal, man. Yeah, they're great people, man. They're great people. You can just tell, you leave a conversation with them, and you just feel like taking on the world, bro.
Yeah, man. But I sure do.
Who's your music? Yeah. Who's your music influences right now? Who's been a big influence and mentor for you musically in your career?
Man, Israel Houghton has always been one of the greatest musical influences of my life as a worship leader and as a musician. And to this day, he still is, man. And then, everybody else in the Christian music world, I love Toby Mac, I love Lecrae, and I love, I grew up on a lot of CeCe Winans and the Winans and gospel music. Right now, I'm all about some gospel music, some Travis Green and Tasha Cobbs, and Travis is really, really a musical influence for me, man. Just his testimony and the way he leads people into the presence of God is inspiring to me. So for sure. And then like on the mainstream side, I'd probably say Bruno Mars is like my influence of influence. I love that guy's voice and his music for sure, sound and everything. It's not always the best lyrics and stuff, but him as an artist, man, that man is an incredible artist and musician for sure.
Yeah. What I believe that leaders are learners, man. So, with that being said, like, what books are you currently reading? Anything that you've been really dialing in on as far as content or certain book or scripture?
For sure, bro. And to be completely transparent, I always say like reading was always my like the downfall of my life. I hated it. But being here, my pastors really pushed me to get into reading. So obviously getting in the Word a lot more, getting into the Bible has been like my main focus. And then I do a couple devotionals that I really, really like. One of them is called The 100 Days of Prayer for a Righteous Man. That's really powerful.
Nice.
And then I think a really famous one is called Jesus Calling. It's like a daily devotion. Okay. I think a lot of people know that one. But then there's also a book by a great friend of Pastor Scott. His name is Pastor Ed Young. The book is called 50 Shades of They. And that's something that I'm kind of diving into right now. Somebody blessed me with that book. And it's really great.
That's awesome, man. We've chatted about a ton of things that you're doing. Like, what do you do to just unwind, man, have some fun? What do you enjoy doing on a hobby basis or just just having fun?
What do I do for fun? When do I chill? I feel like I don't have any time.
Music.
Honestly, bro, I make time. I make time, man. My favorite thing to do is be with my family, my friends, man. So I don't even care what we do. Like, I just like to unwind because I feel like it's a Hispanic thing, bro. Like always, it's a Puerto Rican thing. My parents just get together, bring everybody together. Let's just hang out and play dominoes, man, and just chill.
Nice.
But I love being with my friends and just being able to like detach myself from music every once in a while. Being around people that don't only talk to me about the music, is always good. Yeah. To be able to just, be chill and stuff. So, being some of my best friends are in the church where I'm at right now, and just unwinding, being with my family, and my favorite thing in the world is probably actually aviation, like airplanes, which is like the weirdest fun fact that anybody's ever known about me. So like for me, you take me so I love living in airports like I do. I hate it now. I loved it when I was a kid. But you take me to like some type of airfield or something where I can see jumbo jets and different kinds of planes and just aviation stuff, and I'll freak out.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That is a random fact.
Random, super random, bro. You're welcome.
Many people hear this, and, we want to unite with you, man, and help you out. Is there anything in your life as a community that we can unite with and help pray for?
Yeah, bro, for sure. I mean, just continue to pray for me for guidance, man, and wisdom, and to be smart, bro, and to make good choices and follow God, and follow where He leads. I don't want to just be the guy that preaches about it. I want to be the guy that lives about it, lives by it. So definitely need that.
Yeah. Amen. What social media outlets can people find you at and connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me anywhere on social media, man. Everything from Snapchat to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all I am Jeremy Rosado. I am Jeremy Rosado. You can check out my website, IamJeremyRosado.com. And you can find the music wherever music is played and sold. And yeah, man, everywhere.
And if someone wants to acquire booking you for a church or an upcoming event or something like that, where can they do that?
Yeah, you'd reach out. You can go onto my website, IamJeremyRosado.com, and you can click the booking feature at the bottom of the page, or you can contact bookRosado@gmail.com, and my management team will reach back out.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, along with this interview, we and along with the launch of Jeremy's EP, Rewind, we wanted to just run a cool contest. So the winner of this contest is going to receive Jeremy's newest EP titled Rewind. So we're excited about that.
Yeah.
All the details for the contest are going to be on our IG pages, which will be at Johnny Fuego Sierra and at Jeremy Rosado, or is it at I am Jeremy Rosado?
I am. Yeah. I am Jeremy Rosado.
Okay. At I am Jeremy Rosado. And if you can't remember any of that, just check out johnnysierra.net. It'll have all the information there for you guys to be a part of the contest and join us. So stay tuned for that. Jeremy, man, I know you're busy. I want to thank you for taking a leap of faith with me, man, and I really appreciate you doing this for me. And I hope that, honestly, our relationship together can grow. So
for sure, bro.
Looking forward to it, man. Thank you so much, brother. We'll keep in touch, man.
For sure, man. Bye. God bless you.
Bye-bye.